Good afternoon, guys. Hope you guys are doing great. Uh, so today we're going to start new model, new unit. Just 2 more minutes. Let students join. There are already 34 students in the list. Okay, there we go. Let's look into that. Okay, it's fine. Okay, so let us continue the discussion. Last class, we discussed the what you call voltage regulator. We discussed two IC-based voltage regulator, 317 and 337. One is a positive voltage regulator, the other one was a negative voltage regulator. Okay. So with that, it completes regulator module. Okay. So we have I'll open the syllabus. Okay. Yes, for the test, as Pradeep sir was suggesting, up to active filters will be there for the test. Okay. So for the next test, it will be starting from DC voltage regulators. Okay. So now we are going to discuss what is known as signal generators, and we'll continue with the comparators and converters. Okay. So today I'll start with signal generators. Okay, here we go. So this is the last class discussion. And close this. Signal generators. Okay. Yes, as the name suggests, signal generators. Okay. So signal generator. Okay. New page. Here we go. Okay. So as the name suggests, signal. Different types of signals. In fact, especially in ADC lab, we have seen this. We had seen that function generator. If you remember, we used to use a block which is called as a function generator. Okay, so in that block there are different options we had. We can generate various types of signals. Okay, for example, sinusoidal signal, square pulse signal, or pulse kind of signal, or let us say a triangular signal or RAM signal. Okay, so we can generate various type of signals. How do we do this? Actually, for this we make use of an op-amp. Op-amp to generate various forms of signals. Okay, in a function generator, which is also called as a signal generator. Why it is function? Because it can generate various functions. Functions are signals. Okay. Okay. So that is the basic meaning of a signal generator or a function generator. Okay, so the same thing is explained here. Op-amps are used in circuits for generating waveforms of all shapes. All shapes are like sinusoidal, square. Okay, square pulse. You see, what is the difference between square and pulse wave? Square pulse has both positive cycle as well as a negative cycle. Okay, you'll have positive voltage as well as negative voltage. When you take a pulse, there's only two states: 0 volts and plus or minus. We can take minus also. Zero and negative. Zero and negative. So these are the uh, possibilities. Okay, in uh, function generators. So in this course, we discuss the triangular or rectangular waveform generator. Okay. Triangular, rectangular waveform generator. From this, we can discuss. We can generate various other types of waveforms. Okay, using multiplication. There is integration and difference. Okay, using integrator and differentiator, we can generate.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Some students are waiting.
Okay, okay, okay. I didn't see the message. Sorry. And wait. I'll tell them to join now because okay, I'm sending message, in the group so that or maybe they had a posted in the chat box. I don't know because this. No, no, nobody has posted. No problem. The interface has changed, no, so it's taking some time for me to get acquainted with this. But it's really nice, interface. It's different and very. It looks good. Interface is good. I think students are joining because then I didn't get the notification and I was in the other window, so I will not get the students will not be able to join. If this window is not active. So 54 on the list. Okay, let's continue. Okay, so yeah, we can generate various signals that is commonly used waveforms. Of course, sinusoidal is also very common use. Op-amps will generate anyway sinusoidal signals. Okay, so for a sinusoidal input, anyway it will generate sinusoidal signals. So we should be able to generate different waveforms also, like a triangular and somebody something like. Earlier, I got this notification, but I didn't switch back to this window. 56, 57 on the list. Okay. Okay. Yes. Just a second. Let's give it just a this opens fine. Yeah. Let's see what has taken it. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Let's continue. Okay. Um. Just a second. Ignore this. Okay. Okay. Yes. Now. Yeah. So triangular and I think we are stuck in this point only. Okay. Waveform generator can be constructed. That is, these waveforms can be generated by using integrating circuit and this Schmitt trigger circuit. Okay, so we'll discuss this. In fact, we will discuss what is integrating circuit and Schmitt trigger circuits. So sinusoidal oscillators consist of only an amplifier and an RC feedback. Okay, yes, there is. We have seen this sinusoidal, class B amplifier in the ADC lab. We had using op-amp. Sorry, using basic transistor. We had a the class B amplifier. Okay, in that we used the BJT to generate the oscillations, uh, uh, to generate the sinusoidal oscillations. Okay, so sinusoidal oscillations can be used as it can be generated using a simple amplifier circuit and the feedback network using RNC combination. Okay, so we can generate a like for example RC network, RC phase shift network using which we can generate sinusoidal signals. That is oscillating. function. So along with the generating the sinusoidal signal, we can also stabilize the amplitude of the sinusoidal signals, okay, to prevent signal amplitude from approaching the op-amp saturation. Okay, because what is the meaning of amplitude stabilization is, that is, for example, if you take this, the transistor amplifier, for example, BJT based amplifier, output of the transistor starts oscillating. Oscillating means it will approach a plus VCC and ground. That is, it will start oscillating. Okay, amplitude becomes very huge because of the gain of the amplifier. Okay, this has to be prevented. For example, if you remember in the function generator, output voltage we used to control. Like for example, we can set 1 volts. We can set point, for example, zero point 0.5 volts, 1 kilohertz, something like this. We should be able to comfortably set required voltage and required frequency. Okay, then only this function generator is of some use. If it gives only one voltage, let us say for example, plus 50 volts always, then it's of it's of no use. It is not a function generator anyway. Okay, so thereby what is required is amplitudes to be should be stabilized. Stabilized means we should get a the required amplitude from the oscillator. So for that we have to go for additional circuitry that we'll discuss now. Of course, we discussed with respect to op-amp. I gave the example of this BJT because we have seen Class B push-pull amplifier in the ADC lab, Class B push-pull amplifier as well as RC phase shift network. This also we saw in the ADC laboratory. Okay, yeah, and we had of course that crystal oscillator. That is another type of oscillator network. Okay, first we'll discuss triangular and rectangular waveform generator using the op-amp. Let us jump to the circuit. It's a simple and straightforward. We'll look into this circuit. Okay, this here in this syllabus, let me open the syllabus again because we come across split trigger circuit, and split trigger circuit we study at some different point. I'll show you that. Because split trigger circuit is in the diagram, and obvious question is what is a split trigger circuit? In the signal generator, zero crossing detector. Yeah, here it is. Guys, observe this. What we are discussing now is the signal generator. In that triangular or rectangular waveform generation. Here we make use of split trigger circuit, which we discuss in the next topic. This is a problem. In this syllabus, in the earlier syllabus we had structured syllabus. Okay, so that's why what we for timing. What we have to understand is there exists a circuit, what is known as a split trigger circuit, which is a multi-vibrator. Okay, and more on that we'll discuss in the next topic. That's why I showed the syllabus. Split trigger circuit we are going to discuss in the second part of this unit, third unit. Okay, so let us look into the circuit now. Yes, here it is. Okay, let's zoom out so that the picture fits to the yes. Okay, this is what is called as a triangular and rectangular waveform generator. Yes, in this there are two circuits used. Independent circuits, they are integrator and what is known as a split trigger circuit. What is an integrator, guys? It's very simple. Integrator is a circuit integrator which integrates whatever the input signal we apply. Whatever the input signal, it can be sinusoidal signal, triangular signal, square, whatever you apply, it will integrate the signal and gives out the output. Output is in the form of another waveform. Okay, for example, if you integrate a the square pulse, what we get is a what is known as a for example square pulse. Let's say we apply input as a square pulse to the integrator. What we get is a triangular waveform. What we get is a, in fact, that waveform you can see in the bottom actually. Here is the the actual waveform. Okay, so this is the output of the integrator, triangular waveform, for which the input is a square pulse. Okay. Similarly, there is another hardware op-amp circuit called as a differentiator, which does the opposite. What is the opposite means? For this differentiator, if you apply input as a triangular waveform, it will give the square pulse as the output. So differentiator also you can build using the op-amp circuit. That also we have understood. That's why this circuit is called as a op-amp. Op-amp means operational amplifiers. It performs various mathematical operations: addition, subtraction, integration, and differentiation, even subtraction also. Difference amplifier we have seen. Okay. So this is the meaning of a what is known as an integrator. Next is I will briefly discuss what is a Schmidt trigger circuit, because without understanding what is a Schmidt trigger circuit, we can't appreciate the operation of the circuit. Okay, what is a Schmidt trigger circuit? Is somebody on the line? I'm not sure. Please remind me if somebody could. No problem. Here we go. Okay, yeah. So what is a Schmidt trigger circuit? Okay, Schmidt trigger. This is the circuit. Okay, Schmidt trigger circuit, as the name suggests, Schmidt trigger circuits changes the output waveform whenever the input of the Schmidt trigger circuit reaches some level, triggering level. That's called as a trigger level. Okay, that means, let us say, for example, this is the op amp base. Let us say this is the normal op amp. Whenever the input of the op amp, of course, there are two possibilities: inverting Schmidt trigger circuit as well as non-inverting Schmidt trigger circuit that you can see in the syllabus. There are two types of Schmidt trigger circuit: inverting and the non-inverting. Either it may be inverting or non-inverting. Inverting, non-inverting, very simple guys. States are opposite. For example, I will take one example. For a non-inverting, if the input reaches positive trigger value, output will be positive. What will be in non-inverting is very simple. Sorry, inverting. If the input is a positive triggering level, output will be negative. That's all. That's the difference between the what you call positive triggering, inverting triggering, non-inverting triggering. Okay. So basically, what is the triggering is, there are two levels for the triggering. Okay, two reference. We can understand like this. There are two reference voltages for the triggering. Okay, one is known as a positive reference signal, and there is what is known as a negative reference signal. Okay, whenever the input signal, okay, in our case, let us say, for example, triangular waveform. Okay, even the triangular waveform reaches a particular triggering level, either a positive level or a negative level, output of the op amp changes the state. For example, in fact, you can see in this figure, when the input triangular waveform reaches the positive triggering level, that is also called as upper triggering level, output of the op amp, there is a Schmidt trigger circuit, goes from negative level to negative saturation to positive saturation. Okay, this is the negative saturation, and this is the positive saturation. Similarly, when the triangular waveform goes from okay, goes from positive to negative, what you call, when it goes from positive to negative direction, when it goes in the negative direction from positive cycle to negative cycle, and when it reaches a level known as negative reference value, the output of the Schmidt trigger circuit goes from positive cycle to the positive saturation to negative saturation. Okay, this is what is called as a Schmidt trigger circuit. A trigger is, as the name suggests, it is a trigger circuit. When the input reaches particular triggering value, output will change the state. So from that we can make out what is the triggering level. What is the triggering level of the circuit? That's all. Okay. Of course, triggering circuit we'll discuss, and its design also we'll discuss later. Okay. This is just the basic operation of the circuit. Okay. Yes, this circuit what we see now is a triangular rectangular waveform generator. We have integrator and a differentiator. The outputs are connected. Output of the integrator is connected to the input of the Schmidt trigger circuit, and the output of the Schmidt trigger circuit is connected to the input of the integrator circuit. It's very simple. Okay. If you observe this integrator circuit to start with, the non-inverting input is connected to ground. Because of that, this point is at a condition called as virtual ground. Okay, inverting input will be in a condition called as virtual ground. Virtual ground. Okay, so because of virtual ground, what will happen is the input current, whatever flows in the input circuit, will flow in the feedback network. Somebody is on the line. Will flow in the what you call feedback network. Is the okay. Okay, fine. Let's continue. The current will flow in the feedback network because of the virtual ground. That means the current flowing into the inverting input terminal is very small, negligible. So hence we can consider that maximum input current is flowing through the feedback network. Okay. In the feedback, we have a capacitor. Okay. So because of the capacitor, the circuit acts as an integrator circuit. Okay. So that is capacitor in the feedback, and the resistor at the input stage will will generate the integration action. So whatever the input signal we apply, the circuit will generate an integration of the input signal. For example, if a square pulse is applied, output of the integrator is a triangular pulse. That's what it is. Okay. Okay. Yes. Observe this. The output of the integrator circuit. Of course, we can observe this output on the oscilloscope. No doubt. CRO. Let me write CRO because writing oscilloscope is very difficult with this mouse. CRO, not CRV, CRO. Okay. Output of this, this integrator, which is the triangle, of course, in our case triangular. Why it is triangular, we'll see. Okay, is given as input to the what is known as a Schmitt-Trigger circuit. What kind of Schmitt-Trigger circuit is this? It's a non-inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit. So in this case, non-inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit, what will happen is, yeah, what is happening is, this okay. Yes, what kind of circuit is this? If you observe, inverting input is connected to ground. Okay, inverting input is connected to ground. So because of this, this point is forced to 0. This point is forced to be at a voltage 0 volts, and since it is a non-inverting amplifier, the gain of this non-inverting amplifier is given as 1 plus R2 divided by R3. 1 plus R2 divided by R3. It's a non-inverting, amplifier. Okay, so because of this, now when the input of this Schmitt-Trigger circuit, okay, what is the reference level case in this case? Okay, what is the voltage here is inverting input is at a 0 volts. Inverting input is at a 0 potential, and hence the input voltage, the voltage at the non-inverting input terminal now depends on the voltage across the resistor R3. Okay, output of the Schmitt-Trigger circuit depends on the gain of the operational amplifier. The gain is determined by combination of resistor R2 and R3. Okay, so thereby the triggering level. Okay, so there is okay, on what basis the triggering level depends is, observe this. If the output of the integrator, for example, is positive, okay, if the output of the integrator is positive, then triggering level for this op-amp is positive. If the output of the integrator is negative, the triggering level will be negative. Okay, so the upper triggering point, we call it as upper triggering point, and the lower triggering point depends on whether the output of this integrator is positive or negative. Based on that, triggering point depends. Okay, but here the reference is 0. That is with respect that what is 0 indicates is this 0 volts applied to inverting input terminal. Did I started the record session? Yes, I don't know. Yes, recording is on. Okay, so 0 to the inverting input terminal. Make sure that the waveform above 0 and below 0 have a equal proportion, or the waveform is symmetrical with respect to origin, or symmetrical with respect to 0 line. Okay, so that is the confirmation. That is the guarantee from the point that inverting input terminal is connected to ground. If this inverting input terminal is connected to some other voltage, let us say some other DC voltage, then with respect to this waveform will be generated. Okay, fine. So that's how it is. We'll look into that also, that factor also. So output waveform is nothing but a the square waveform. The square waveform is further applied to integrator circuit, so that the circuit automatically generates a triangular waveform as well as square pulse without actually any input. If you observe this circuit, the only input what we are giving is a DC voltage, plus VCC and minus VE, positive and negative DC. But the op-amp is generating, the circuit is generating a triangular waveform and a square pulse. Both happens to be a AC signal, alternating signal. Is correct? That's very simple. Yeah, here we go. Let us look into the that's a basic operation principle of the triangular and rectangular waveform generators. Yes, let us look into the point in case any point is missing. Okay, so what we are using a Schmitt-Trigger circuit is a non-inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit. How to identify is very simple. Case, to what input we are applying the input will decide whether it is inverting or non-inverting. If it is applied to non-inverting, it is a non-inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit. If it is applied to inverting input, it becomes a inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit. It's very simple. Okay. The Schmitt-Trigger output is applied as an input to the integrator, and the integrator is applied as a input to the Schmitt-Trigger circuit. Okay. Yes, here we go. this point to be discussed. Yeah. The output when it is a square wave, split trigger output changes from one saturation level to other saturation level. Each time the integrator output arrives at a split trigger upper triggering point or a lower triggering point. Okay. So as we can observe in the waveform, let us discuss that also now. Okay. So let us say, for example, okay. So when this integrator output, it is a triangular waveform. Okay. Why it is generating triangular? Because of the resistance and the capacitor at the feedback. Okay. Guess what? How does the circuit works? Is the output of this Smith trigger will charge the capacitor. What is the output of the Smith trigger? It is a square pulse. Okay. So this capacitor is charged to the input voltage. Let's say, for example, positive saturation, for example, positive saturation. So when it is charging, the capacitor one end is positive. You can observe this capacitor here. One end is positive, this end is positive, this end is negative. Why? Because it is charging. Okay. When it is charging, observe that this end is positive and this end is negative. This end is connected to output. What is the potential at the output? Is negative. Why? Because output is at a negative potential, because capacitor is getting charged. At this stage, this end is positive, that is this end of the end towards the input terminal is positive. The end of the terminal of the capacitor towards the output is negative, and hence output voltage is negative. Okay. So thereby, I guess you can observe that here. You can observe that in the waveform also. I'll go to the waveform. So when the output of the Smith trigger circuit is positive, you can see that capacitor is tending towards negative. It is why it is tending towards negative is because though output voltage is the output of the Smith trigger is constant, capacitor charges gradually. Capacitor charging discharging cycle we know, as we have observed in the what you call diode rectifier circuits. This is how the charging and discharging cycle looks like. But this characteristic depends on the value of R and C. Okay, that is charging constant. Tau is equal to R and C. So depending on the tau, this characteristic varies. Okay, so capacitor gradually charges, gradually discharges. Okay, this charging discharging of the capacitor at the output of the inverting terminal gives a what is known as a triangular waveform. Output of the integrator circuit. Sorry, I said inverting terminal. Sorry. At the output of the integrating circuit, because of the charging and discharging nature of the capacitor, it generates gives a what is known as a triangular waveform. Now, if you observe this triangular waveform also, what will happen is, let us say, for example, to start with, output of the Smith trigger circuit was a positive saturation. Okay, it is already saturated at the positive. It is already saturating, at the positive cycle as well as negative cycle. That is negative cycle means negative saturation minus maximum negative voltage. So what happens is that during positive cycle, capacitor charges. This end is positive, this end is negative. That means output voltage is negative. Negative means it is going from one end, that is positive cycle, it is going towards negative cycle. Okay. Negative cycle means, let's observe this. What will happen to this, this Smith trigger input? Output of the integrator is going in the negative direction. Initially, it was positive. Is correct? Initially, it was positive. That means inverting input, non-inverting input is at a positive cycle. Since it is a non-inverting amplifier, output of the Smith trigger circuit is positive. Okay. When the capacitor voltage, when capacitor is being charged, the other end of the capacitor is negative, and hence inverting output is negative. Output of the integrator circuit goes in the negative direction. When it reaches certain point where differential voltage is so small and it is slightly negative. Okay, differential voltage is very small and negative in the sense, as you observe this, the output of the integrator goes in the negative direction. It reaches the negative triggering point. There is no triggering point, negative triggering point, such that when this level is reached, okay, output of this Smith trigger circuit switches from positive cycle to It switches from positive cycle to negative cycle. Okay. Now the output of this Schmitt-Trigger circuit is negative. It is in the negative saturation. Okay. When the output of the Schmitt-Trigger circuit is in the negative saturation, what will happen is, let's observe this. This end is negative now. Why? Because the output of the Schmitt-Trigger circuit is negative. When it is negative, this end of the capacitor now becomes negative. This end becomes positive. That means capacitor starts discharging. Capacitors start discharging. When the capacitor start discharging, the output of the integrator gradually increases from negative cycle to positive cycle. From negative cycle to positive cycle. Okay. So output of the integrating circuit increases. It goes from negative cycle to, it touches zero, it crosses zero, it goes towards positive cycle. And when the output of this integrator reaches some positive point called as upper triggering point, how to define this upper triggering point, how to design this upper triggering point, we'll discuss that. Okay. For timing, assume that there is upper triggering point is already set. When it reaches upper triggering point, what will happen is this non-inverting input becomes more positive with respect to ground. Because why ground? Because inverting input terminal is connected to 0 volts. With respect to 0, non-inverting input terminals becomes more positive. When non-inverting input terminal becomes more positive, output of the Schmitt-Trigger switches from negative saturation to positive saturation. Very simple. Okay. So during positive saturation, output of the inverting integrator goes in the negative direction. Okay. When the output of the integrator is negative and it is below the, when it reaches lower triggering point, that means lower with respect to the reference voltage, which is 0 in this case, which is applied to the inverting input terminal, that is the ground terminal. When the voltage at the non-inverting input of the the Schmitt-Trigger circuit is less than the 0, that is, it has reached the lower triggering point, output of the Schmitt-Trigger circuit will go from positive to negative saturation. That's what it is. Okay. So thereby integrator output generates a triangular waveform, and the output of the Schmitt-Trigger circuit is a square waveform. Okay. So it is something like this. When the, let's observe this, when the Schmitt-Trigger circuit goes from negative to positive saturation, okay, the output of the Schmitt-Trigger goes from negative to positive saturation. And when the integrator output goes from positive to negative saturation, output of the Schmitt-Trigger goes from positive to negative saturation. That's why it's called as a positive or non-inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit. Okay. Other ways around. What is the other possibility is, if we use the inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit, if you use inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit means connect this output of the integrator to inverting input and connect this non-inverting input to ground. What will happen is when the integrator output goes from positive to negative saturation, the Schmitt-Trigger output goes from positive to negative. Correct. It will switch from positive to negative saturation, and when the integrator output goes from negative to positive saturation, output will go from negative to negative to positive saturation. Correct. Okay. It will be opposite of this. It will be opposite of this operation, and that is used. That is when the inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit is used. Now, what this circuit consists of is a non-inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit. Okay. Because what will be the advantages is that inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit gives a larger gain. If you consider the gain of the non-inverting circuit, it's very high compared to the inverting input. So that is the advantage, using a non-inverting Schmitt-Trigger circuit. Okay, this the same thing is explained here. Let us look at this. At time instant t1, that's somewhere here. It's the author is explaining with respect to these time instants now, t1, t2, t3, and t4, with respect to which this operation is understood. At time instant t1, the integrator output is at the UTP, there is upper triggering point, and Schmitt-Trigger output is at the positive saturation. Okay, so positive input voltage to the integrator causes current I1 to flow through R1 and C1. Okay, why it is only R1 and C1, not through the input terminal of the op-amp? Because see, this current I1 flows through R1 and C1 only, not here, because this current is very small. Not that the current will not flow, current should flow, then only the op-amp works, but it's very small compared to this current. Okay? So that's what it is. The I1, the capacitor C1 is positive. I1 charges C1 on one side, on left side, capacitor C1 is positive. On the other side, capacitor C1 is negative. Okay, so producing a negative going ramp output from the integrator during the interval T1 to T2. This is what we discussed. Okay, yes, this explanation is similar to what we discussed. Okay, this is explain the same thing. Okay, so about the triggering point, what we have to understand here is, uh, okay, it is called a free running signal generator. It produces triangular and square wave waveform. Okay, so unlike integrating circuit, there is no resistor in parallel with capacitors even, because integrator output cannot go above the Schmitt output. Okay, that's right. Okay, so in the integrator, there will be a resistor across the capacitor to prevent the output from reaching saturation. That is not possible here because that will be controlled from the triggering of the Schmitt trigger circuit. Okay, fine. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay, yes. Now what we have understood is, using this circuit, we are generating two kinds of waveform. That is triangular waveform using the integrator and a square waveform using a Schmitt trigger circuit. Next question is, guys, in the ADC lab we have seen, that signal generators. If you remember the signal generators, so what are the parameters we can adjust? Guys, if you select a signal generator, we can adjust, various parameters like, amplitude. Okay, we can adjust, amplitude. Okay, we can adjust the frequency. You can adjust the frequency, and let us say DC, DC offset voltage, DC offset voltage, and what else? There is amplitude, frequency, offset voltage, and what is called as a duty cycle. There is another function called as a, if you remember, there was a duty cycle function. Duty cycle. Okay, fine. Okay. So now in this circuit, what we discuss now gives a fixed amplitude and fixed frequency. Okay, it's not modified. It's not variable. Okay. Now we have to modify the same circuit to generate variable amplitude and variable frequency signal. Variable frequency signal. Okay. So that is known as duty cycle. That is called as time period. That is the next topic. That is frequency and duty cycle adjustment. Okay, so we can adjust in terms of amplitude of the signal, as well as duty frequency of the signal, as well as duty cycle of the signal. Okay, yes, what is a duty cycle? Is it's nothing but the duty cycle k is equal to t on divided by this. I think you have done in AC course. T on divided by total time period, duty cycle. For a square pulse, it is 50%, 0.5. It is around the 0.5 for a square pulse. It varies. We can adjust the duty cycle. Okay. How to do this? Yes, let me jump to the circuit. Instead of reading the test, let us jump to the circuit. Okay. Yes, this is the modified circuit, from the same circuit, what we discussed just now, triangular and rectangular waveform generator. The same circuit is modified to generate what is known as a frequency and duty cycle adjustment circuit. Okay. This is the integrator circuit. Okay. It is modified by adding, see, there was only one resistor, one resistor and one capacitor. Now this resistor capacitor, no change. Capacitor, the same capacitor is used, but this resistor part undergoes a lot of changes to adjust the duty cycle and also frequency. Resistor, this R4 is used, is a variable resistor. This is used to adjust the frequency control. Okay, and this R5 is used, resistor R5 is used, which is again a potentiometer or a variable resistor, to adjust the duty cycle of the signal, duty cycle of the signal. Okay, and in addition to that, two diodes and resistors are used to control the amplitude of the signal. Okay, fine. Just let us look into the operation. How does it works? Okay, yeah. And look at this Schmitt trigger circuit. Schmitt trigger circuit is same. There's no change. It is a non-inverting Schmitt trigger circuit. There is R2 and R3. So R2, R3 design we'll see in the numerical problem. We'll see. These two values are selected based on the requirement, based on the gain of the op-amp 8. Very simple. Okay. So there's no change in the Schmitt trigger circuit as it is. Only modification in the integrator circuit. Let us look into the this. Okay, these are the waveform. We'll see. There is two modification. One is with respect to frequency as well as duty cycle. Okay, so this is with a smaller duty cycle. This waveform with a smaller duty cycle, and this waveform is for a larger duty cycle. Okay, there you can observe that Tn is very large in this case, Ton, and in this case Tn is very, very small. Okay, so smaller duty cycle, larger. Okay, yes. Okay, fine. Yes, now how does the circuit works? Yes. Okay. So in this case, how does the circuit works is very simple. Okay. So for time being, yes, and so I think to start with, we assume that uh, this R5 R6. Okay. Okay, fine. No problem. Let us look into the circuit. Okay, fine. Okay, so let us say, for example, output of the Schmitt trigger circuit. Output of the Schmitt trigger circuit is positive saturation. For example, it is in the positive saturation. That means output of the Schmitt trigger circuit is positive. Now, what will happen is this current, that is output of the Schmitt trigger circuit, current I1 flows through the this circuit, that is R4, which is again a potentiometer. Is a variable resistance. Okay. So because of this, what happens is, what is the path for the current to flow is, the current path for the current is through R4 and through R5, and either through D1 or D2, depending on whether the output of this metrical circuit is positive or negative. For example, okay, so output of the metrical circuit is positive or negative. Okay. Now let us say, for example, output of this metrical circuit, I'll take some other color. Okay, okay, for example, output of this metrical circuit is positive, for example, then the current will flow through D1 by D1 is forward biased, whereas D2 will be reverse biased for the positive output of this metrical circuit. Okay, the current will flow through, when the output of this metrical circuit is positive, it will flow through R4, R5, D1, R6, and it will charge the capacitor. Very simple. Okay. If the output of the metrical circuit is negative, what is the path for the current to flow is through R4, R5. D1 will be reverse biased for the negative output of the negative saturation of the output of the symmetrical circuit, whereas D2 will be forward biased. So D2 is forward biased through R7, D2, R7, and the capacitor. Okay, so it will charge the capacitor through this path. Okay. So the path in this these two networks depends on whether the output of this symmetrical circuit is positive or negative. Okay, now let's observe this. Okay, first is frequency adjustment. Frequency adjustment. Okay, for example, what is charging constant is tau is equal to RC. RC. Okay. Now charging time depends on the value of the resistance and the capacitance. Most of the circuit design, we have understood that capacitor is mostly a constant value. Okay, we don't use like variable capacitor. If you see in the whole entire course, we may not find variable capacitor in most of the circuits. Maybe in one or two topics we may find variable capacitor. Otherwise, mostly it is a fixed capacitor. So this C factor is fixed. Only this R factor is varied. Okay. If R is increased, charging time increases. That means charging time of the capacitor. For example, if this is the time, okay, charging time of the capacitor increases. Okay, and for a given value of R, discharging time of the capacitor also increases. Obviously, because charging and discharging time should be same. Okay, for a given value of resistance. Assuming that there is no R5, guys, please understand that. This, when you read the text, you'll understand all this. Let us assume that there is no R5, for example. Let us say there is, for time being, there is no R5, there is no resistance R5. Straight away, this R4 is connected to D1 and D2, for example. Okay, then what will happen is, if R4 is very large, this variable resistance is very large, charging time of this capacitor VC, I'll call it as VC, voltage across the capacitor, C1, VC1, it is charging time is larger, and discharging time also will be definitely, because observe this current, either the if the capacitor is being charged, this end is positive, this end is negative. If capacitor is being discharged, this end becomes negative and this end becomes positive. Okay, so it should charge and discharge through this resistor only. Okay, there is no other path for the capacitor to flow. Okay, so the current through the capacitor to flow. Whereas, what if this R is smaller, guys? If this R value is smaller, let us say, for example, we'll take another color. If R value is smaller, then This tau is smaller. This tau smaller means it is something like this: charging and discharging, charging and discharging. Okay. Observe this. If you observe this green color, green color waveform, charging and discharging cycle. Let us say, for example, this period is t. This period is t. T1. Let us say T1. And the other color is, the other possibility is this one. That is, let us call this as time period call T2. T2 for smaller value of R4 to be more precise, a smaller value of R4. T1 is for larger value of R4, larger value of R4. Okay. So what is the significance? What is the inference from this base? What do we conclude from these two? Larger the value of time, larger the value, what will be the frequency? Frequency will be smaller. Other way around, T2 smaller indicates frequency is larger. Frequency is larger. Okay, that means frequency of the output of the integrator circuit. Frequency of the output of the what is the output of the integrator circuit? Is nothing but a triangular waveform. Frequency of the output of the integrator circuit depends on the value of R4. By adjusting this R4, we can adjust the time period of the integrator output, that is a triangular waveform. As the time period is varies, the frequency of the integrator also varies. Very simple. Okay, fine. Now that's okay. The question here is, if the integrator output varies, the time period of the integrator, that is the triangular waveform varies, will the time period of this symmetrical circuit also varies? Yes. Okay. So for example, if your T1 is the time period of the triangular waveform, that is a T1. Okay, so T1 will be the time period of the symmetrical circuit. Very simple. Okay, so the time frequency will be same. Frequency of the output of the integrator and the frequency of the output of the symmetrical circuit will be same. Very simple. Okay, this is what is called as a frequency control or frequency adjustment. Okay, fine. Next is duty cycle adjustment. How to adjust duty cycle? Okay, for duty cycle adjustment, what we have to assume is that, not assume, in fact, there is a requirement that R4 should be a fixed value. Though we use a potentiometer to adjust the frequency, this potentiometer at a fixed value vary R5 to adjust the duty cycle. Adjust the duty cycle. How it is done? Okay, let's observe this. Okay, let's now okay, to understand that, let us say R4 is fixed. Okay, the current passes like this. So for example, again the same assumption. Let us say output of the symmetrical circuit is positive. For example, okay, symmetrical circuit output is at the positive saturation. So this current is positive. So when this current is positive, the current flows through D1, because D1 is forward biased. It will charge the capacitor because it is a positive voltage. This end of the capacitor is positive. This end of the capacitor is negative. This end of the capacitor negative indicates that output is negative going voltage. That is, output is negative voltage. Okay, fine. R4 is fixed. R5. Now, depending on R5 position, there is this resistor R5 is divided into two parts. First part is R5A, and the other part is R5B. Okay, fine. Let's observe this. If R5 is towards R5A, that is, if R5 is towards its upper end, that means R5A. This I think, okay, I have to write R5. Just give me a second. Okay, so if this resistor R5 is towards the upper end of R5A, that means R5 is equal to, I should write just a second. Let me write in terms of wave equation. R5 is equal to R5A plus R5B. Very simple. Okay. So if R5 is towards its upper end, that means R5A is more and R5B is less. Very simple. Correct. R5B is lesser. Very simple. Okay. If R5 is at the lower end, for example, then R5A is lower and R5B is higher. R5B is higher. Okay. Very simple. Okay. Let's observe this. R5A part, R5A resistance is responsible for charging the capacitor. Why? Because the output of the symmetrical is positive. The current is flowing through R5A, D1, R6 to the capacitor. That means R5A is responsible for charging the capacitor, whereas R5B is responsible for discharging the capacitor. Why? Because the current will flow through, when the output of the symmetrical circuit is negative, Okay, what will happen is, please observe this. When the output of this integral circuit is negative, then this diode D2 is forward bias. Then this will be negative and this will be positive. That means capacitor will discharge through R5B, through R5B. Okay, so thereby this is very simple now. Okay, if R5 is higher, that is, in other words, if R5 is more than R5B, R5A, R5 is more than R5B, that means the total charging period of the capacitor is tau. Tau, let us call it as tau 1. Okay, is R4. Yes, I think. Yes, let me. I need this space actually so that. Okay, I'll write here. Okay. Yes. Okay. Okay. Let me write here this. Okay. Yes, I'll take 2 or 3 minutes. That's all. Okay. So let us take it as tau. Okay. We can let's call it as tau 1. Tau 1 is equal to R4, which is fixed value, plus R5A plus R6. What is R6 fixed? The resistance in series with the diode. The resistance in series with the diode, which is responsible for charging the capacitor. Okay. Okay. Fine. What is tau 2, guys? What is the other possibility? Tau 2 is R4, of course, because it's a fixed value. This is R5B plus R7. What is R7 is? The resistance which is in series with the diode D2. Diode D2. Okay. So thereby, this is very simple. Okay. So for charging the capacitor, that is charging the capacitor. That means let's observe this. When capacitor is being charged, this end is positive, this end is negative. That is the negative voltage. While charging, the output voltage is negative. It depends on the output of the integrator. Negative depends on the value of the R4, R5A, and R6. Okay, that means it's something like this. This is tau on is equal to R4 plus this. Let me not write again. This into C. This into C1. Very simple. Okay, so this can also be called as tau on. Okay, what is tau of this? That is, what is the the off period? That is, observe this. When capacitor is discharging, this is negative and this is positive. That means output is output of the integrator is positive. Output of the integrator is positive. So that means this is one complete cycle. There is negative and positive. In that case, for the output being positive, output of the integrator being positive, what are the resistors which are responsible? R4, R5B, and R7. Okay, so there is a tau of, we can write it as equal to tau 2, that is R4, R5B plus R7 into C1. Into C1. Okay, fine. Yes, let us look in this in terms of waveform. Okay, observe this. So waveform is given. Let us discuss with respect to waveform. Okay, so thereby integrator output, that is from T1 to T2. From T1 to T2, of course, this waveform is something what I different from what I wrote actually. I wrote other waveform, but basically this is how it is. That is from T1 to T2. That means when the output of the Schmitt trigger is positive, output of the Schmitt trigger circuit is positive, the integrator output goes from positive to negative. So for this duration, who is responsible case? There is for T1 to T2, the resistors which are responsible is R4. Okay, the output voltage is negative, means R4 plus R5A plus R6. How do we know this? Output voltage is going from positive to negative. That means output of the integrator should be negative. That means this should be negative, this should be positive. This positive means it is R4, R5A plus R6. Very simple. Okay, fine. Similarly, what about the negative cycle is? Observe this negative cycle. What is negative cycle from T? This is not visible. Let me erase this part. Okay. Now for the region, for the time from T2 to T3, for the time from T2 to T3, okay, the resistors which are responsible is R4 plus R5B plus R7. R7. Okay. So thereby, now what we understood is this period is on period. Okay. Okay. So no. Okay. This is positive and this is negative. How do we take? Okay, positive cycle and negative cycle. Okay, this is positive and this is negative. Okay, fine. Okay. Yes, in this case, in the triangular waveform, it may not be straight away clear. Observe in terms of Schmidt trigger output. Okay. So this region, which is controlled using R4 plus, R5A plus, R6, gives a smaller duration of no, positive cycle, positive pulse at the output of the Schmidt trigger circuit, and R4 plus R5B plus R7 gives the negative cycle. That means this resistance combination R4, R5A, R6 gives the turn on time of this mid trigger circuit output, whereas R4 plus R5B plus R7 gives the turn off time of the output of this mid trigger circuit. Okay, very simple. Okay, yes, what we the bottom line is very simple. If R5 is A is very large, if R5A is very large, then turn off time decreases. In other words, if R5B is very large, turn off time increases. Very simple. Okay, that means, but what we have to understand here is we are keeping this R4 constant. We are keeping this R4 constant. Okay, so therefore, what will be ultimately the case is keeping the frequency constant. We can achieve two things. This is one possibility, or is the other possibility something like this. Keeping the time constant. Keeping the time constant. Okay, so this is the total time period. The total time. This is on period, and this is the off period for the this red waveform. Okay, and for the green waveform, this is the on period, T on period, and this is the T off period. Keeping the frequency constant. Keeping the frequency constant. There is another possibility that keeping T on constant, we can vary the frequency. We can vary. That's also possible. For that, what we have to do is that is to adjust the frequency. For that, we have to vary the R4. We have to vary the value of R4. Okay, it's fine. Time it's time up now. In the next class, we'll discuss the design part of this. In fact, we have a design part of this circuit. We'll discuss that, and we'll discuss one numerical problem also. Okay, we'll continue the discussion on the waveform generator. Yes, thank you. Thanks for joining. Okay, take care.